So I'm excited that Stuart Furman was able to join me this morning at Life is a Sacred Journey. He actually was one of my first guests many, many years ago, and we are mutual friends of Carolyn Brent, who you all know. I've introduced Carolyn Brent to you. And Stuart is just an incredible person. He's been a caregiver, and he created document, a Caregiver ElderCare Ready starter kit, so that families who need it, I actually reordered one because every time we work with a family here, they end up taking it from me, and because it is a workbook. And so in a few minutes, we will introduce you to Stuart Furman, and we will have a conversation about his caregiving experience and why this pack, this caregiver tool, became something that was important to him. I want to just lift up, before Stuart and I begin our conversation, you know, I know I was on a conversation with a group of people last night, and this pandemic has gone on for quite some time, and people are feeling anxious. People are feeling separated from family and friends. People are feeling, just a real disconnect. And I know that is happening with everyone out there. And so I just want you to take a few minutes wherever you are and just take a deep breath. Stuart, join me. Take a deep breath. Let's sit up and open up our lungs and just breathe in. Let's breathe in peace, and let's breathe it in and breathe out some of this anxiety and blow it out. Shh, just breathe. Breathe in peace again, and blow out the anxiety. And just do that when you're feeling anxious. Just breathe. You know, I find I stop breathing when I get anxious. I'm one of those people, Stuart, that holds her breath when she gets anxious, and then I do this and I do this. I kind of curl all in. Everything gets all tight and tense. So take care of yourself during this time. I know it's a difficult time. My son turned 32 this week, and I could not go over and touch him. It's the first time in his entire life that I have not been able to hug him and touch him. Of course, we talked, and I went by his house and all of that good stuff, but we weren't able to touch. And that really, last night, I realized how much I missed that. So let's get through this together, and welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. Hit that share button, hit that like button, start your own video party. I want to invite Stuart Furman to the conversation, and I want to tell you a little bit about my friend Stuart. He is a frequent speaker on eldercare issues. He has been featured in AARP, Primetime Radio. He was on Carolyn Brent's Blog Talk radio show way before he was on mine. He also appeared in Maria Shriver's .com, Forbes.com, and Next Avenue PBS. He is the author of the ElderCare Ready Book and the ElderCare Ready Pack. And so, also an attorney. And I just have had the honor of being a friend. We're now friends. And he and his wife came up and honored us in supporting us through one of our annual events not too long ago. So welcome, Stuart. I want to thank you for being with us. And I'm inviting you to the mic now. And just welcome. It's good to see you. I'm happy that you guys have moved into your new home and you're feeling a sense of, whew.
Moving is not fun, I'll tell you that.
No, moving is not fun.
And of course, thanks for having me again, and great seeing you again. I love the Zoom, because we can actually see each other.
We can actually see each other, yeah. The last time that Stuart and I had a conversation, it was just podcast, so it was just two voices on the line. So I want to get started and give you an opportunity to really tell your story. You know, you became an author of a book. You became an author of a book because something happened in your life and you felt just like I feel with Life is a Sacred Journey. It was an opportunity to share with other people what was going on and to maybe help them as they journey through the elder care. I don't know, I'm going to call it a journey because it really is a journey. So can you tell us about that and enlighten us on why ElderCare Ready Packet? Why did that happen?
Sure. You know, as Micheal, as you mentioned, that my past life or my current life was an elder law attorney. Been practicing for, 35 years now, I think. And, about 15 years ago, a funny thing happened in my family is my parents got old on me. You just don't think that's going to happen because they're your folks. They're going to be around forever. And not the case. So what happened there was I really realized that I was woefully unprepared for the logistical part of elder care. The legal part, sure. I'm an attorney. We drafted their estate plan. Everything's fine and dandy. We're set. Well, no. And realized that there's a whole other area out there that people need to know about. And I figured that, I'm an insider. I know a lot about the legal side and some of the practical side, but if I'm confused and unprepared, I know everybody else in the country, if not the world, is also unprepared. We're all human beings. We're all going to get old, and these things are universal. So through my practical experiences with elder care and my legal knowledge, I put together the ElderCare Ready Book. And what that is it's a book not really about legal issues. It's about how to get prepared for your elder care journey. And one of the main themes is that I can't tell you how to make a decision.
Right.
All I can say is how to be prepared for the decisions that you're going to be making.
That's right.
And there are some important areas, there's some less important areas, and that's, again, how the book started. And look at the book as a text format. Where I'm explaining how to prepare.
That's right.
So that tells you how to invent the wheel. The pack is the wheel.
That's
so
right.
What I've done is I've created a fill-in-the-blanks pack of information that you're going to need. What I found also is that there's things that you don't realize that you need until you need it. And then you don't have it.
That's right.
One of them was, and this was on that AARP radio show that you mentioned, out of 200 pages in that pack, the interviewer said, so why do you need to know about implants? I'm going, wow, that's like one line.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's a really good question. And it's actually very logical when you think about it. My mom actually had the good fortune of breaking both of her shoulders at different times and had shoulder replacements.
Yes.
That was 30 years earlier. And so she needed an MRI. What do you need to know about the MRIs? Is there any metal in there? They asked me, I said, I don't have a clue.
I don't know. I don't know.
So we actually had to research it before she could get the MRI. Well, if you know that in advance, then clearly here it is. Here's the serial number. Here's everything. You don't know if or when you need this stuff, but when you need it, it usually is in crisis, phase. So that's why, behind the pack and the book is getting everything together so you have everything necessary to make your decisions.
And the thing that's so important, everyone out there, Carolyn Brent is listening. Thank you so much. I see Maureen Dixon. I see many of your faces out there. You see, I don't have my glasses on. So all of you, good morning and welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. Please hit that share button and we will drop this in Facebook where you can see Stuart. For some reason, my desktop this morning would not allow me to bring Facebook on. It kept dropping it. So I'm doing the Facebook Live through the phone. You guys should be so proud of this 63-year-old woman that she can just maneuver technology. Because back in the day, I would have crashed. But what Stuart is also talking about is also you preparing for yourself. I think this is really important. You know, I didn't ever think I was going to be a caregiver. I never really thought about that. You know, as you said, I didn't look at my parents and say, oh, they're going to be old or this or that or the other. And so never really thought about caregiving until I became a caregiver, and then went into this field. And so is this a document that people can also use for their own planning in addition to planning maybe for someone that they're caring for?
Absolutely. And the reason is, you know, who best knows what you own, what your desires are, you know, all of this information, you know it.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I kind of sometimes phrase it this way: the best gift you can give to your kids is a completed ElderCare Ready Pack.
Yeah.
Everything is there, you know, so they don't have the issue, because a lot of times they're busy and they're just not going to do it.
That's
So, and it does help you as well, because in crisis, all the information again is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make a comment, one thing on, there are a new company I think that came out and is doing an online type of version of the ElderCare Ready Pack. And I thought about that, going online, and I decided against it. And that was, again, because of practical experiences. Unfortunately, folks go to the hospital a lot. They go to the ER a lot.
Yeah.
The ER doesn't have internet service that you can use, so you don't have your information. The ER doesn't have printers, so you don't have your information. So I said, you know, with all of the extensive amount that's in there, you pick up the book and you go. You don't have to pick up your iPad or your computer and figure out how to do all this stuff, because time in crisis is very valuable.
That's right. And when you think about caregiving, and maybe from your experience also as an attorney, what was one or two of the things that when people came to you that you would expect that people would be prepared for, but they actually were not? They had no clue whatsoever. And then maybe it might have been the smallest thing, but it was a very important thing to moving forward in closing out their family's business or things of that nature.
Good question, and it really is across the board.
Okay.
But it is kind of a lead into, you know, something I do want to talk about before we run out of time. Because this, I think, was probably the most important thing that I've learned on all of my elder care journeys. And I've been through 5 of them. Okay, so it's and each one was different, you know. And if you're married, you have 2 on each side, and then we had a second marriage, and you know, all of that. You know, when it comes to end of life decision making, you know, people come into my office and say, well, I don't want to be kept alive, you know, artificially. Just pull the plug,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I always sat back and said, well, what is life support? You know, life support was actually invented to keep people alive, you know, during surgery, and you come out and you live your life. And then it kind of became a negative. You know, I don't want life support. Well, you know, do you or do you not? That's one issue to address. But you know, end of life decision making is something you really can't teach, because it's kind of like, you know, talking to a soldier that went to war. You can't say you understand, because you have to have lived it. And the same thing with end of life decisions regarding parents. You have to have lived it before you understand it. And it was interesting because and this is my personal family, you know, I always looked at treatment and life-sustaining care versus the suffering or trauma of a parent. So the trauma and suffering was a factor in determining what direction you might want to go. And that is really not understood, discussed, or even agreed to most of the time by the families. Right. And that creates a whole bunch of emotional turmoil and stress within the family. And so I also asked myself, well, what condition am I treating her into? You know, what's the baseline? What it's going to look like at the end? How long is it going to take to get there? Now, they sound a little callous, because what's the alternative? The alternative is we let her pass away. But yet, you know, that's the problem. And the emotions always come into play. You know, so, you know, then you got to set back and say, and this is what I did being an attorney. You know, when you have a healthcare advance directive, what is that? What is that? That is a directive that says, okay, Michelle, you're going to make my medical decisions for me if I can't make them on my own. And I want you to make them in the same way that I would have had I been able to.
That's right.
So you're
Right.
supposed to detach yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Detach yourself from your own emotions and say, okay, I'm now Stu. What does he want? How do I do it? Are the conditions there? And then carry them out. And that's extremely difficult.
Yes.
Okay, that's the part about you got to live it to understand it.
Yes.
Um,
And when you love somebody, that gets, I mean, and again, love is one of the greatest emotions, but it gets in the way when that person, when you're making those kind of life-changing decisions. I've had to do that with a good friend that had cancer, and she loved me enough to help, to allow me to go with that journey with her. And she chose me, even though she had family members, because when the time came, the family members wanted to do more and more and more and more, when in fact her quality of life had actually ended. And she had to have somebody, a secondary person, to say, no, this is not what she wants. Now, granted, I wanted her to live forever. She was one of my best friends. But at the end of the day, when she said, I want to go home and die, that's what we did.
Yeah. And you lived it. So you know
And I
exactly what
lived
I'm talking
yes.
about.
Yes, I lived it. Yes, I did. And that, you know, Stuart, and I wish I had. And even though she wasn't an elder, I will tell you all that the ElderCare Pack is applicable to everything, everybody. Because the one thing that I realized is, as I was thinking about my son getting older and all of this, and I'm also getting older and all of this, you know, that all of us need to prepare for the fact that somebody else might have to make some decisions for us at every stage of our life. I realized just yesterday or third, whenever Milton's birthday was, I'm no longer the person that has to that can intervene in any decisions about his health care, his life, or anything. It's he and his wife now. But he and his wife need to sit down and have this dialogue, because just because they're in their 30s, and I pray to God nothing ever happens to them, the reality is you have to be prepared for that, so that people have the data to do what it is that you want them to do. And I think that just becomes a conversation that we want to have when people get older, but it's actually a conversation, to me, at the beginning of your journey of life. As you begin to buy property, as you begin to get married, as you begin to have children, you need to have a plan.
Absolutely. And, you know, right now with COVID going around,
Oh my gosh.
You know, you have younger people that are having potentially, you know, life-ending decisions that have to be made.
Yes.
You know, so it's, and that's what you know, when you look at younger people, it's either an illness, i.e. COVID, it could be an accident, you know, a genetic, you know, situation, but it does happen. But with COVID coming around, I think more people are attuned to what could happen to me as a 30-year-old, as a 40-year-old. You know, so that's an extremely important decision. It's not, and it's more than just checking the box on the advance directive. You need to have the talk and sit down and talk in detail. One of the problems with the elderly, though, is, and we ran into this, you know, the healthcare landscape changes so quickly. You know, so today, yes, we're going to go ahead and do this treatment. Well, that night there's a call and things change. Now what? You know, now what? Now what? Now what? And it was almost like every single day there were life, you know, ending decisions that had to be made. You know, keep alive or not, treatment, all of these things that I talked about. So, you know, that's, like I said, this has probably become the most important part of everything I wrote about. I do have an epilogue too, a second epilogue that I'm putting into my second edition, which I'm about maybe 75% through, talking about this issue.
And when will that be? When are you?
Well, when the clients stop calling me.
And unpack at the same time. Unpack and write the book at the same time.
and when the clients stop calling me, that's when I need to sit down and be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways,
Well, I got it on Amazon. I want to tell people how to get it. So I got it through my Amazon account. And I saw that it was also available in other places, but you can get it on Amazon. It's going to be in my mailbox on Saturday, and I think it was like $25 or something like that. And so I actually bought two this time because I'm going to give it to my son and my daughter-in-law as a gift. To get them thinking, and then I probably will have to buy another one because somebody will come in my office or somebody will say something to me at some point, and I'll give it away like I did in the past. But get it, ElderCare Ready Book, and then ElderCare Ready Pack. Did I get it right?
You did.
All right.
Yep.
All right. And so, and it's really important to also, again, have this conversation with your family. Don't do it as, I used to, when I first started my career in working with seniors and families and all of that, we used to say, do it around the Thanksgiving, Christmas, because that's when you've got everybody together. And then I decided, Stuart, I don't want to have that doom and gloom conversation at the Thanksgiving table or around the Christmas tree. But you have those moments when you're being intimate and engaged, intimate conversation with your family, and just bring it up. Just bring it up as a casual part of life. I think that's the thing about death and dying that I've learned in my career, is that we made it such a separate thing from life that it's like the boogeyman in the closet, that it's like, oh, don't open the closet because the boogeyman might come out. But at the end of the day, we have to understand the minute a person is born, they're moving towards that place, and it's end of life. And so instead of making it this big mystery and this big scary boogeyman, make it a part of the conversation, a part of the journey, a part of what is the journey of life, and make it more sacred than we've made it, where that it's the doom and the gloom. I'm not trying to die anytime in the near future. I actually keep asking for about 40 more years of life, but at the end of the day, we have to prepare. Right. For something that is inevitable. So, Stuart, before we run out of time, because we're almost there, what are some of the last statements that you would like to make to our wonderful audience out there, Sandy and Carolyn and Maureen and all the folks that are out there? What would you like them to know before we end our time?
Well, regarding the elder care readiness concept, I say knowledge is power. And knowledge is solace in terms of knowing and understanding more and more about this process. And I learn things every day from talking to people. It's like I never thought of that, and so you got to ask questions. Yes. Do never, ever, ever accept an answer from anybody that doesn't make sense to you. You've got to keep your mind open. A lot of people have different agendas. The medical community, I'm not convinced they always have the best interest of the patient in mind. Take some of the HMOs. They're money oriented. They're in the business of making money. And again, I'm not commenting on the doctors themselves, but the industry itself is sometimes designed to save money. And I experienced this myself, where we had family meetings with some of the physicians, and it wasn't until maybe a couple of weeks later that we realized they left out some options for us. That was like, really? And they knew, my brother and I are both attorneys, and my sister's really sharp. They left them out. And I said, well, why didn't you tell us about this? And they had no answer. Well, wink and nod. What is the answer? Right. So you ask the questions and do your research. Get on Google. I think Google for educational purposes in the medical field is probably pretty good to get a good basis of what's going on. There's only so much you can bias the answers. In medicine, it is what it is.
And so, you can have more than one different opinions, and then when you're talking to your doctor, bring those things up so that if they say no, whatever, then you can make a good decision. I agree.
It is a profession, and all professions have differing opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they sometimes say in the legal community, you know, if I ask 5 attorneys the answer to a question, you usually get 7 responses.
That's right.
You know, same thing with medicine, you know, and
Yes.
they all have their own, you know, philosophy and how to do things and how to treat. And so ask questions until you're comfortable and you got a good feel. You almost have to, you know, kind of have a little medical school education.
Right.
So that I think is an important takeaway. Just, you got to do it yourself. You are the only one that really has the best interest of your family at heart.
And when you're going to your professionals that are working with you, making sure that you have your own little notebook. That's another tip that I saw in there. You can take the ElderCare Ready Pack with you, but you can also just have your own little notebook and then transcribe all that information in the ElderCare Ready Pack and
Yep.
use some of those guiding questions to take them with you when you go. I think that's important. So Stuart, how are you doing with COVID-19 and sheltering in place? Before we've got like 2 more minutes. So how are you doing? How are you and Jane?
Well, probably like everybody else, go a little nuts staying in the house, but we make sure, you know, we need an outing. So we say, well, you know, we need a carton of milk. So let's go. Get out of the house, just get in the car and go. You know,
yeah.
I take the dog for a ride in the car, go to the post office, you know, just whatever. It is difficult, you know, and I think it is for everybody, and you go stir crazy. But you know, we're healthy, and all our friends are healthy, and you know, knock on wood.
That's the key, and that's the key. So I want to thank my friend Stuart Furman for joining us today. He is a person that loves music, loves, you know, life and nature, but also loves giving back to the community. You know, he's been an attorney for a long time and been in an incredible marriage with Jane. Good morning, Jane. But yet took time after an experience to not be selfish, but to sit down and write a book and to say, let me help other people. ElderCare Ready Book and ElderCare Ready Pack is something that might help your family. And again, on Life is a Sacred Journey, we try to bring you things that might benefit you on your sacred journey. And so, Stuart, I thank you so much for being on the yellow brick road of my life. And I pray that you and Jane continue to be healthy and that you continue to do your good work. And whenever we can partner together, you know, let's do it. And I'm looking forward. You know, we have a bottle of wine to share together, and COVID's getting in the way. So we need COVID to go away. So thank you so much.
Well, when you get cold up there, come down to the desert where it's 115 degrees. So you'll warm up quick.
I will do that. I love making friends all over the world so that I always have a place to go. But thank you for opening up your home for me. And I will definitely take you up on that. Absolutely. When the universe allows. So Stuart Furman, a great friend, a great human in the world trying to make a difference. Thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us today on Life is a Sacred Journey. To all of my friends out there, thank you so much. Remember to go back to Facebook later on. Give Felicia enough time to drop it into Facebook Live and you'll get to see the full interview on Zoom with Stuart's face. I just wanted to make sure that you were available on Facebook Live. I want to thank you all so much for continuing to support Life is a Sacred Journey. It is a blessing to me to be able to come to you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you all. I know that you could be doing something else at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, but you choose to be here with me at Life is a Sacred Journey. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Stay in the house. We have air quality advisories for the weekend through Sunday. So please be careful. Take care of yourself. Hug yourself. If you have a tree in your backyard, go hug a tree. They've been under crisis with all the fires. Stuart, be well.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for inviting me again.
Thank you for having you. Thank you. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Have a good Friday. Blessings.
Bye now.